Everyone. I love when Alan refers to us as electeds. It reminds us that if you don't like us, you only have one person to blame. It's the voters. So, good morning and welcome this morning. Today I'm going to talk about cities in San Mateo and why San Mateo is poised to be a great city. San Mateo already is a great city, but why is it the focus on the city right now? Why are cities the place that are making the difference? Why are cities the place where we rely on everything that we need in life? Your street gets paved, your sewage, the wastewater treatment plant, police, and fire, that all happens at the city. Cities are so important. Cities are also where all the people are. Cities are also where all the pollution is and where carbon gets emitted. Take a look at the top map here. Half of the people in the United States of America live in the red sections, and the other half live in the orange. You look at the map at the bottom, this blue map, half of the GDP for the United States happens in the blue, half the GDP happens in the orange. Why are we focused on cities? Why are cities where everything is happening? That's where the people are, that's where the economy is working, and that's where we can make a difference. Looking more locally, you look at the heart of the peninsula, San Mateo, right here. What's going on? Never before in the history of the world have we seen a concentration of billion-dollar companies like we do right now in the Bay Area. And you recognize the location, the geography of the city of San Mateo. We are right in this billion-dollar corridor. It's happening all around us. That's not something that we can change. But it explains a lot of the things that we face. A lot of the challenges that San Mateo is dealing with is because we are surrounded by these billion-dollar companies. It puts a lot of pressure on our real estate. It also generates some revenue for the city. We rely on those property tax dollars and sales tax dollars like anybody else. You'll see that in the last few years, we've seen our revenues rising because of those economic conditions with those billion-dollar companies. We're very fortunate to have that, but it also creates stresses on our infrastructure. It creates economic conditions that make it very difficult to live here. The cost of living is very high. The city of San Mateo doesn't just spend all that money, though. We've seen our spending stay relatively flat so that we've been able to build up our reserves. And that's important because you never know when a rainy day might come, and we've been fortunate to have a lot of rainy days lately. But the economic conditions will go through cycles, and we'll be ready for that. San Mateo's not going to spend everything that we bring in. We'll be ready for the next economic downturn. But even as I say that, we are still replacing the major cutbacks that we had to staff during the economic downturn just a few years ago. And so this year we will be reviewing our staffing levels to make sure that we are providing the residents of San Mateo with enough police officers on the street downtown, with enough traffic officers to keep cars and pedestrians and bicyclists safe. But what else happens? We also see housing becomes an issue. And too many people feel squeezed right now. We do have a task force right now that's working on the issues of housing and what we can do as a city to help support residents and making it affordable to live here in San Mateo. We've added, in the Bay Area, with all those billion-dollar companies, we've added over 100,000 jobs. And we haven't provided nearly enough housing. Less than 10,000 new units. And what you see from that is that people have to move further and further away in order to find someplace affordable to live, which means that they're spending more time in their cars as they drive to where they work. And many of them work here in San Mateo or just north of us, just south of us. All those people spending all that time in their cars, the traffic engineers measure that as vehicle miles traveled. We've seen the vehicle miles traveled explode. And that just means that you're sitting behind somebody else who lives even further away than you do. We can't have that. In the city of San Mateo, we should be able to take responsibility as one of the employers in the Bay Area and say, we're going to help our residents live here in the city of San Mateo. We're going to help our employees live here in the city of San Mateo. Right now, we own the old RDA site. Everybody's familiar with, probably because Matt Bronson just helped us with our downtown parking plan, and you're going to see an increase in some of the fees for parking downtown. But we're going to build on the redevelopment side. We're going to come up with a plan to make sure that some of our employees for the city of San Mateo can live downtown. I think you're going to see downtown continue to improve the way it did back when Carol Groom was on the city council and they approved the Cinnamon downtown. You saw a renaissance downtown. You saw restaurants opening up. You saw more people walking around downtown. We're going to continue to build on that. You're going to see the downtown space be activated. We will also receive the recommendations from the task force on ways that we can make San Mateo more affordable to live for people of all incomes. Infrastructure investment. So I referenced those voters a minute ago. The voters not only helped to get me elected, the voters also passed Measure S. Measure S is a huge shot in the arm for the city of San Mateo. It will give us the ability to invest in our infrastructure like never before. So many of the phone calls that I get during the year are from people who live on a failed street or a street with potholes. And it takes a long time to get to each and every street and fill those potholes. It takes a huge investment. A failed street costs $2 million for every mile to replace that failed street. So we have 18 miles of failed streets in the city of San Mateo. So just maintaining our current PCI level, pavement condition index, just to maintain the overall PCI level for the city of San Mateo costs us about $4 million. And that's all the money that we have to invest in streets on a regular basis. So without something like Measure S, we would never get to the failed streets. But Measure S gives us the ability to invest in streets and to replace those failed streets. You're going to see a street near you have that pothole filled or get completely repaved. And I'll tell you, the phone calls that I get from somebody who just had their street repaved, when they get home and they see that new street they've been waiting for years, and they're almost in tears how thankful they are that they never thought it was going to happen to them. And thank you for this. You saved my car. I'm not going to have to get my car fixed again and realigned. And you saved my marriage. We're happier every night now that we come home. But there's another place where you're going to see the infrastructure be invested in, and it's right over here in North Shoreview. North Shoreview is still in the flood map, and that means we have a significant number of residents who have to pay flood insurance to FEMA every single year. Shoreview was in that same situation, and they had thousands and thousands of residents paying $2,000, some of them even $7,000 a year in flood insurance. Some of the Measure S money can go towards raising the levee and fixing the pump stations so that those thousands of residents will no longer have to pay the $2,000 in flood insurance. That is money back in those residents' pockets. That's money that they can then go spend downtown. So we look forward to that. And we succeeded on that in Shoreview. We're going to do it again in North Shoreview. Some of that money will also go to parks. You know that this year we will engage in our master planning project for Central Park. We're finishing the improvements that we're making at Bearsford, and we'll continue to look at parks and recreation. Traffic. So we've talked about some of the issues with traffic. We've got a lot more jobs in the Bay Area, a lot more jobs in San Mateo, and that means a lot of cars. The city of San Mateo and the region, the county, everybody's working on how to improve traffic. How do we do that? How do we work on every element of public transit to get people out of their cars? How do we solve people's last mile problems so you don't drive downtown just to see that there's no parking and then end up parking further away than you started? Grade separations. We've been working for a very long time on grade separations. We have $350 million in unfunded capital needs. Capital projects that we don't have the money to fund. Measure S will help that, but also the grade separations are a piece of that. Over $180 million of the unfunded capital needs are the grade separations, and that's money that we're going to go to the TA and to high-speed rail in order to get those funds and bring them back to San Mateo. That's not going to be your tax dollars necessarily. It could be funds that we get from the state or other regional partners. These grade separations will allow flow back to the freeways. It's also going to mean that it'll be easier for buses to get around our city and take people from Bay Meadows to Station Park Green or wherever they're going. We have also made tremendous strides in sustainability. We have an active sustainability commission. We adopted our climate action plan. We have very popular electric vehicle charging stations in downtown and City Hall. We have a car share program. This year you're going to see us bring forward a bike share program. It was very exciting to be a part of the wastewater treatment plant groundbreaking for their biogas digester. We have taken the biogas created at the wastewater treatment plant and condensed it so that it now can fuel our city's fleet. 500 gallons per day, and it's going to offset a huge amount of carbon that was otherwise being emitted. We'll also come forward with a bike share program. And we've joined PCE. PCE, the Peninsula Clean Energy Program from the leadership of the county, is a game changer. Being a part of this means that we will get our electricity from renewable sources, solar and wind. Much of that, or in the early stages, will come from outside the county, but I hope very soon we will be investing in that green infrastructure right here in the city of San Mateo and the county of San Mateo, so that we're producing our own renewable electricity right here. Development. Anybody here want to talk about development? There are a tremendous amount of things going on in San Mateo. We looked at the grade separations. This year you're going to see the Hillsdale Shopping Center come forward with a plan that just wows people. Every time someone hears about what's going on at the Hillsdale Shopping Center, they say, "What is that? Where is that? I want to go there." They're adding a bowling alley. They're adding a luxury cinema. They're going to have a huge workout space. It's going to be a destination where people go for entertainment. They go for recreation, and they might even do some shopping. But you're going to see more and more people walking from Bay Meadows and from Bearsford Hillsdale, walking from Peninsula Station, which is what we're going to call the next Hillsdale train station when it gets rebuilt. People are going to be walking here. It's going to be a very pedestrian-friendly village that they will create. Station Park Green, is that done yet? Station Park Green is very exciting. We have made tremendous progress on Bay Meadows. Bay Meadows has added 15 acres of park space. For a built-out city to add 15 acres of park space is an incredible achievement. Not mine. I think it mostly belongs to the city councils that came before me. But Station Park Green is a part of that. Station Park Green is adding 2.5 acres of park space. So we look forward to that very much. And we believe in transit-oriented development. I think what you see here is a city that sees all of our development happening in the rail corridor, so that future residents are taking advantage of our public transit opportunities. And when the train gets electrified and we can expand capacity somewhat, more and more people will be riding the train to and from work, Even people like me, I'll be walking downtown to hop on the train to take it just the 2 stops to the Hillsdale Shopping Center so that I can go get something to eat or go bowling or go to a movie with my family. And then, of course, 3 corners. How many people are used to referring to 3 corners? Well, it's time to stop calling it 3 corners. It is now 2 corners. 2 corners, and soon enough, I think, I don't know where Darcy is, I think later this year we're going to start calling it 1 corner. So we'll keep going until it's 0 corners. I look forward to that very much. This is our 50th anniversary of the Japanese Tea Garden. We'll be celebrating that in August. So exciting that we've had that jewel for so long, and we love our relationship with Toyonaka. They will come out to celebrate with us. That's a fantastic thing for us. We saw an ice rink that some people were excited about. A lot of people came out and used the ice rink. It sounds like something that we'll be able to do again every year and expand on it. It was such a huge success in terms of the number of people. I'd love to see food trucks and more lights and a beer garden. Everybody's really enjoyed it, and many of them went out to dinner downtown afterwards. Central Park is the best. Central Park is not going anywhere. I don't want anybody to worry about Central Park. The only thing that we'll be doing is enhancing it and making sure everybody has the opportunity to enjoy it. But we'll go through our master planning process to see how we can make it even just a little bit better. We saw the Los Prados fields get turf this year. The kids were so excited. I was out there. Jerry Hill was out there. Paul Council was out there. We had a great time opening it up. The AYSO folks said, "Thank you so much for doing this." Last year we had to cancel the playoffs. The fields were in too bad a shape. We just couldn't play. We didn't have a winner. We couldn't have any playoffs. There was no winner. So that'll never happen again. And very excited at all the recreational opportunities that we provide for kids in San Mateo. Public safety. I'm going to tell you my favorite thing about this slide is that it is slide number 18 or something. We don't live in a place where public safety is slide number 1. And I'll tell you, there's plenty of places where public safety is slide number 1. I used to work in one of those. But this is, we have such a luxury to live in one of the safest communities in the world. This is the 2nd safest county in the state of California, one of the safest places that I know. We have very hardworking public safety, both police and fire. We've got Chief Healy and Chief Mannheimer here today with us. We just keep giving them the tools and technology and training that they need, and they keep making us the safest community that I know of. So, keep doing what you're doing. I want this to be slide 18 forever. Something special, something unique, something that makes us great is the level of engagement that we see from our citizens. You go out to the Taste and Talk series, or you come to Good Morning San Mateo, or you go to the Downtown Forum, or you go to one of the traffic forums that we're conducting right now, and what you see are a whole bunch of residents who are excited, who want to make San Mateo great, who love what San Mateo is and think that it can be a little bit better. There's a belief right now that we can solve our problems or make everything just a little bit easier for folks. Just make it a little bit easier. Raise the levy so I don't have to pay that flood insurance. Just make it a little bit easier for me to get the freeway, build that grade separation so that I can get to Bay Meadows. Just give me a little bit more parking downtown. We can make those changes, and what we see are people showing up time and time again to engage in that process. This is advanced citizenship. These are people who don't have to take their dinner time and show up at a meeting, but they do, and they improve the city because of it. I am so thankful for that. It makes my job so much easier. But what else makes the city great? The people. And I've already referred to some of the people in this room, but staff and our leadership at the city level make my job so easy. You can't have a great city without great leaders. Whether it's the San Mateo United, whether it's the Downtown San Mateo Association, whether it's the Chamber, or whether it's our staff. They have a great sense of humor, and they're not afraid to get their hands dirty. I am so thankful to Larry and to the staff that we have at City Hall. They make this a great city, and we owe it all to them and to the residents. I'm going to take a step back now for just a second. I'm almost done. You know, from time to time we have to go back and think, where have we come from? Where are we going? Are you better off than your grandparents and your great-grandparents? 100 years ago, there was no sliced bread. There were no commercial flights, no airports, no internet, no antibiotics, no chemotherapy. 8% of people had phones. 14% had bathtubs. 6% graduated from high school. The speed limit was 10 miles per hour. The whole country had about 10 paved miles. There were only 230 reported murders in the entire United States. The flag only had 45 stars, and the population of Las Vegas was 30. You know, but many of their issues were just like ours. Many of their issues were just like ours. They were worried about transportation. They were building railroads. They were worried about water. They wanted to create sustainable water for the next 100 years, which they've done. That's the Hetch Hetchy Valley right there. They did that for us. We're still concerned about water today. At our wastewater treatment plant, we're going to start recycling 13 million gallons of water a day. We're building the wastewater treatment plant that will do that. They were concerned about transportation. This is the Panama Canal. 100 years ago they built that. Fitzgerald Field. And they were always concerned about recreation. They were always concerned about recreation. Are those the good old days? Maybe in some ways. But in 100 years we've made so much progress. You look at the civil rights movement. You look at who can vote today, who couldn't vote 100 years ago. You look at the people who are in positions of power who never would have been there 100 years ago. I stand before juries every day and I tell them, I work, when I worked in Alameda County, my boss was a woman, the elected district attorney. The Attorney General for the state of California was an African-American woman. The Attorney General for the United States of America right now is an African-American woman. And my President of the United States is an African-American man. We've made tremendous progress in 100 years. We still have our issues. We have terrorism, and we're fighting wars. But you know what? 100 years ago, they were fighting World War I. And don't forget that 17 million people died in World War I. And that's just a fraction. We see just a fraction of the deaths on the battlefield today. We still have work we need to do. But we've taken tremendous, tremendous steps. San Mateo will be great, and we will continue to focus on transportation, water, sustainable water for the future, and recreation. And Fitzgerald Field isn't going anywhere. San Mateo is going to continue to be great, and it's because of the people and because of all of you. Thank you so much.